You've had a very robust discussion of COIL on the discussion forum, and now it's time for us to think about how do you move from this really exciting conversation to a draft of your project. We'll be doing a series of quick writes today, and I'll talk about what a quick write is in a second, to help you move towards your first draft. The first thing that I want all of us to think about is what Group A talked about. The claim, subclaims, and evidence that COIL presented in his argument. A claim, you might also have heard this phrased argument or thesis. I like the word claim because it comes from the Latin root of clamare, which in what I've read anyways can mean to shout or to cry out. And I like that because I think it suggests that you really have something important that you're saying, right? That you want to yell out, that's important enough that other people really need to stop and listen. So I like the word claim because it has that kind of intensity to it. Subclaims would be most arguments have kind of a major significant point to them, but also other significant points, right, that authors want to communicate to their readers. So we want to also think about what COIL's subclaims are, smaller arguments. And then finally, what kinds of evidence does he use? What are the main examples? So regardless of what your critical review has in it in terms of your own personal approach to COIL, we're all going to be, as writers, trying to communicate what COIL's main claim was, what, if any, are his subclaims, and then what evidence he draws on. So our first exercise in a quick write is to reread Group A's discussion forum. You might not have time to read all of it, that's fine. So just browse around in Group A's discussion forum and try to get a sense of what you think most people are saying are the main claims, subclaims, and evidence, or what seems most resonant with you in terms of what you think are the main claims, subclaims, and evidence. After you've spent maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes browsing around in Group A's forum, I want you to spend just 5 minutes doing a quick write. A quick write is where you sit down, you set a timer like we did with the phone with the brainstorming list earlier this week. You set a timer and you just write for 5 minutes. Try not to stop writing. Even if you get stuck and you're not sure what to say, you might actually write, I'm stuck, I don't know what to say. And then sooner or later, hopefully your brain will go back to focusing. Quick writes can be very loose, where a teacher or someone will just choose to do a quick write just on nothing, right? Let me just do a quick write to kind of get my head into writing, and that's good. Today I'm going to offer you a focused quick write because I'm going to ask you specifically to write about something. What I'd like you to do is set a timer for 5 minutes, and when you're ready, begin writing, what do you think is COIL's main argument? What do you think his subclaims are? And what are his main pieces of evidence? Don't find the page numbers and quotes yet, and don't look on the discussion forum yet. Just from your reading, just take a second with your own brain, your own head, and just try to get at what you believe to be his main claim is. And then after the quick write, we'll come and back and find the page numbers. Okay, so hopefully you've done your quick write for 5 minutes. Now, so we don't get too far away from the text itself of COIL, I'd like you to take a few minutes and whatever you had identified as his main claim, subclaims, and evidence, I'd like you to look through COIL's text and add page numbers to your quick write so that you can have those in place for your draft. After we all have a sense of what we think are his main claims, subclaims, and evidence, then we're going to turn in our draft to figuring out what your approach is. This is still kind of moving from the discussion through to your draft. This is going to be your unique perspective, and maybe every single person in the class will have a slightly different version of a critical review. I hope you do. I wouldn't want them to all be the same because that would be not as exciting to read as me hearing what you have to think and your colleagues hearing different ideas. So this is not about whether COIL's ideas are good or bad. You're not evaluating the ideas for how strong they are or how weak they are. What you're really thinking about is the uses and limits of Coyle's approach, as well as perhaps any underlying assumptions, his motivations, his purpose, any of those really nuanced, sophisticated aspects of his text that groups B, C, D, and E were charged with talking about. I'm going to ask you in a second to do a quick write again, but first I want you to be thinking about this question. What do you have to say about Coyle's argument? What strikes you as interesting? What do you think your readers should know about Coyle's argument? So this is another iteration of what we did with Group A's ideas, but instead this time I'd like you to spend around 15 minutes browsing through Groups B, C, D, and E, those discussion forums, and then you're going to do 2 quick writes. There's a lot of really good material there, so it's going to be hard to just spend 15 minutes, but I thought doing 2 quick writes might get you farther along towards identifying what it is you want to say in your draft. So reread groups B, C, D, and E, and then put those aside and find something to write with. Set your timer for a quick write. Again, just keep writing. Even if you get stuck or you run out of things to say, just say, I'm running out of things to say. Anyways, do a quick write on what strikes you as significant. What are you interested in thinking more about based on those discussion forums? Okay, and again, now you should have done your quick write. So now go back to Coyle's text and identify the page numbers and quotes and put those in your quick write so you can have them when you're moving on to writing your draft. I'd like you to do another iteration of that because you might not have actually landed on what you find most significant yet. So give yourself a little more time to do another quick write based on groups B, C, D, and E, and then after you're done with that quick write, find the page numbers. Based on these 3 quick writes that we've done today, you should have a kind of working draft, right? You should have identified the way you're going to summarize Coyle, and then the critical review part of that, right? What do you want to say to your readers about Coyle's argument?